goods sold, this is for people that are selling product, by the way. Cost of goods sold divided by average stock holding. Cost of goods sold divided by average stock holding. So if my cost of goods was 200, my average stock holding was 100. 200 divided by 100 is 2. Do you agree with that? And then again, what you do is you take the 2, and you divide it into the 12. And that's going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how often you are selling your stock. So every 6 months, it tells me you're turning your stock over. And what you want to do is turn your stock over as quickly as possible. Because the more you turn it over, the more money you're going to make. So measure your stock. I like to have a little book alongside the till that says, on Monday, this is how many t-shirts and how many loaves of bread are sold and how many cameras, and have an itemized sales record. So you can work out when you need to buy the stock. Because stock on the shelf, ladies and gentlemen, is money sitting on your shelf. You cannot afford to have money sitting on your shelf from February and only using it in October. So I like the just-in-time principle. I know some of you don't like it, but I like it because it gets my cash flow okay. Maybe, just maybe, you want to buy stock on consignment. So you don't have to pay the money out until you actually receive the money. Have you asked your suppliers whether you can get stock on consignment? So it can be measured, and it is an investment. Just like staff are investments. Stock is an investment. You have to get a return on your investment. So from a timing perspective, I believe we need to manage our stock. But you also can manage your staff. Now, here's a couple of rules for you. If you're working overtime all the time, if your staff are being paid a lot of overtime, if your turnaround times are getting longer and longer, you might want to think about employing a staff member. If you are worth 1,000 Rand an hour, why aren't you paying that man 300 Rand an hour to do your bookkeeping? Be efficient in the use. You are the Ferrari. You're the guy that's got to get out there and get the business in. It makes no sense for you to be doing 300 Rand an hour work when you are worth 1,000 Rand an hour. So it might be time to employ staff, ladies and gentlemen. You can control them, and I know we've got to have employment contracts and all those good things in place. And money, but that's what we're talking about. If you are out there making 1,000 Rand an hour, it's going to be easier to pay 300 Rand an hour. Now, from a staff perspective, Bev, thank you for reminding me. So if I'm getting a salesperson in my business, surely that salesperson must pay for himself because it's an investment. So if I'm paying him 10, there is no ways I should be expecting less than 30 or 40 from him, because otherwise it's not an investment. You don't have to write this down because I know you're tired of eating frogs now. But staff productivity ratio. If I do a calculation on a month-to-month basis, and I take your sales and I divide it by your staff salaries and your staff costs, I'm going to get a figure like this. My sales were 200, my staff salaries are 100. So 200 divided by 100 is 2. So that tells me for every 1 Rand I spend on a staff member, I'm earning 2 Rand. So what you can do is monitor on a month-to-month basis what is the staff productivity ratio. And I believe that ratio shouldn't be less than 3 or 4. Some people say 6, but you can measure it, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to have to forgive me for a couple of minutes, but I need to tell you a little bit of a belief that I have. I believe every single business owner should go on a course of negotiation skills. Negotiation 101. Why? Because if you can negotiate not only a better price, but better terms, you can have a much greater success chance in your business. Because we tend to accept things at face value. And when you negotiate, can I suggest, number 1, negotiate as far as possible face to face. Emails are easy to be rejected. But if I'm sitting in front of the client, I can see his body language. I can see if he's paying attention to me. Negotiate face to face. Also negotiate. The old days of on a win-lose basis doesn't work anymore. Because if I'm going to negotiate, everybody is entitled to a fair profit. Everybody's entitled to a fair profit. And if I'm going to drive down the price of my supplier and he's not going to make money, guess what? He's going to build a terrible swimming pool for me. My roof is going to leak eventually. So there is a limit on negotiating. In fact, I don't even negotiate with certain people. So if you're selling wood on the side of the road, I won't negotiate with you. If you want 25 Rand a bag of thornwood, I will pay 25 Rand a bag for thornwood. However, if I drive on Cedar Road in Four Ways and I see you sitting there in this BMW with the chrome wheels and these wonderful Nguni skins all hung over the wire, have you seen the guy? And I come from East London and we don't have those things there. I say, sir, how much for the Nguni skin? He says, 2,000 Rand. But I can do a better price. Now I know I'm not paying 2,000 Rand for that. I say to myself, if this guy gives me 10% discount, I'm going to take this Nguni skin. But he who speaks first will lose in a negotiating situation. So what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, I go to this guy and I say, okay, I want this white one with the brown spots. He says to me, 2,000 Rand. I said, but you said a better price. And then I shut up. Do not say a word. He stands and he looks at me. I look at him. He looks at me. I look back at him. And eventually, he cracks. I'll give it to you for 500 Rand off. Who won? I won. Because I was prepared to take 200 Rand. And he gave me 500 Rand. If I'd gone to him and said, can you give me 200 Rand discount? He would have been winning. So he who negotiates, he who speaks first, ladies and gentlemen, loses. Please buy yourself a book at Exclusive Books. Go on the internet, but read about negotiation skills that are so important in your business. Now, remember we had a bit of fun with the discounts. Let me tell you how serious this is. This is a serious part of the talk. I've got a table which I'm quite happy to share with you. I'll email it to you if you ask for it. My email address is on the back page. But what it tell you is how much more business you have to do because of discount. So, if my gross profit, ladies and gentlemen, is 40%, and you give 10% discount, you have to increase your business by 33.33% to get to the same point. Does that make sense? 10% discount on a 40% gross profit means your sales team has to work a third harder. But on the other hand, if you are on a 40% gross profit and you give a 10% price increase, you can afford to lose 20% of your business and still be in the same situation. You see why I don't like discounts? Unless I can get something in return. So, please be aware, discounts aren't. What I find very often is that as business owners, we're working on markups and we're thinking we're working on gross profit. If I buy something for 100 Rand and I sell it for 200 Rand, my gross profit is not 100%. It's 50%. And then we give discount based on our markup. I'm marking it up 100%, so I can afford to give a 20% discount. No. Be very careful of markups and discounts. This is my last slide. Can I give you one last frog? One last one. Here's the frog. French one. You friend like Frenchman. The snails are dessert. Okay. So the last frog is about collecting your money. So if I take a calculation and I say sales divided by your average debtors. Now those are the people that owe you money. Sales divided by average debtors. So sales is 200, average debtors is 100, the answer is 2. If I divide 12 by 2, it means it's taking me 6 months on average to collect my money. Again, I'm asking you, do this calculation on a regular basis. And if you see it started at 3 months, and now it's going to 4 months, and now it's going to 5 months average, fire your debtors clerk. And hire a bulldog. because these people are important to you. We do not submit your invoice, ladies and gentlemen, on the day that you submit your product, the day that you submit your service fee. Sorry, you complete your service, submit the invoice. There's no rule in law, there's no rule in commerce that says you can only invoice after the 25th of the month. So I have a couple of rules for my invoicing. Number one, I have a standard invoice. So it doesn't mean I have to start invoicing from scratch. Number two, I build relationships with the people that are going to pay me. When I went to the army, national service, before I went there, the Omana said, guys, two people you make friends with. Number one is the chef. Number two is the person that pays your salary. Make and build relationships with your customers. All things being equal, people will buy from a friend. All things being unequal, people will still buy from a friend. So they might pay you better, faster than the other guy if you've got a relationship. The other thing I want to say to you is not only do I have a standard invoice, which is easy for me to complete and send on time, I make sure that my invoice looks good. A lot of us out there are sending out invoices that we go to Pick and Pay, CNA and PNA, and we buy this book that says invoice factuur. And it's got that blue, carbon paper. And then we quickly write the invoice and we hand it into the customer. And you know what? Your customers will have a cash flow problem at some point. And he's got now two invoices and he's got to decide which one to pay. So he's got invoice factuur, that one. And then he's got this really nice one that's done on Microsoft Office. Maybe it's been printed, maybe a bit of color. So now he's sitting there and he says, I've got to decide which one to pay. Do I pay in this one or do I pay that one? Which one is he going to pay? He's going to pay this one. A simple thing like the appearance of your invoice can make a difference. Have a checklist. My wife checks out every invoice before I send it. Why? She's very good at finding faults with me and my invoices. Because I will keep on looking over the same mistake. So get someone else to check that the VAT number is on, that the client's order number is on, that the delivery slip is attached. Because the last thing you want to do is submit your invoice and then they phone you and say, thank you for your invoice, but you've left something off. Please check your banking details are good. Because if you're going to get paid by check, you're going to take 7 days before that check clears. 10 days, depending on which bank you're with, Bev. Okay, so please have a look at your invoice. Check it out. Check it out. Hey, this is quite funny. So I'm saying, and sorry, before I go there, if people owe you money, ladies and gentlemen, please chase them. Be polite. The day after the money is due, sorry, sir, I've checked my bank account. I can't find your payment. Can you fax me a copy of your deposit slip? He doesn't know you've only got 2 pages. He thinks he's got 20 pages. Phone, because the squeaking wheel gets the most oil. And you need to be the squeaking wheel. Because if you complain and someone else doesn't, you will get paid first. We are like that. We're human beings. So we're in, there's Adrian. It was Hilton. So I'm standing in front of a crowd of 300 and I say, is there anybody out there that has got clients that owe them money for longer than 90 days? Are there any clients that have got defaulting clients for longer than 90 days? And just about here where this gentleman is sitting, there's an elderly couple. And she puts up her hand and she says, we do. I say, you know what? Hand them to the lawyers. She says, we are the lawyers. It was so funny. I didn't know what to say. Oh, it was hilarious. I said, hand them to the debt collectors. Sure, they're going to take 20, maybe 30%. But guess what? I'd rather have 70% of something than 100% of nothing. And remember another thing. No deal is better than a bad deal. So don't just take clients. for the sake of taking clients. So in closing, ladies and gentlemen, is there anybody out there, for example, that has a customer that you've done work for or you've delivered goods for and they've just disappeared? They're gone. Yes. Guess. Check Facebook. You will find them on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. Yes, I am on Facebook. Check Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you will find them. And then you paste these abusive things on their walls. There was sorry, you're not allowed to do that, but in Holland, the one guy found a delinquent client and he slated him on Facebook. Eventually they kicked him off. But anyway, so use social media in collecting money, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't find the guys, find them on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. So, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been, as always, at the Dome. We've had a great time. If all else fails and you can't get the money, here's a tip for you. Barter. Barter. If I cannot buy the cement to plaster a client's wall, go to the hardware store and say to them, listen, I see you got a crack in your wall there. If you give me 2 bags of cement, I'll plaster the wall and I won't charge you the labor. Second point, if you can't get what you're looking for in the form of cash, look at what you need the cash for. Look at what you need the cash for. Why? Because you might find it easier, ladies and gentlemen, to get given a box of paper than to get given the money to buy the box of paper. Make use of your family and friends. So, in closing, thank you once again. You guys have been tremendous. Thank you very much. Thank you.